Good morning. It is December 12th, 2024, and this is the APFA Retirement Seminar. I'm Patrick Hancock, and this is
Tuck.
Hey.
We're glad you're here this December. Happy holidays in advance.
Exactly. All right. So, Kim Coates-Tuck is the APFA National Retirement Specialist. I have no idea where these pictures came from, and I'm Patrick Hancock.
But they're so cute.
They are darling, whoever they are. Yes. And then we always give a shout out to Ron Harris, because Ron Harris is responsible for a lot of the information and the slides that you will see in today's presentation. Hey, Ron.
Hey, Ron, we miss you.
Yes, that was him and I on a layover in London. So he may have been overserved in that picture. I'm not sure.
Just Ron?
Just Ron. Yeah, no, absolutely. No. Yeah. All right. So that's who we are. Who we are not is we are not the company. This is a union meeting. And I have been a union rep for way too many years, and I have developed a rather healthy cynicism about the management of my company. Yeah, I know, imagine that. And so if I say things about the management of the company that offend you, get over it. Yeah, so we are not the company. We are not your financial advisors, and you will probably most definitely need financial advisors. You'll probably hear us say about 6 times in this presentation, you need a financial advisor, because it's really true. We're also not your attorneys. We're not your Medicare advisors. We're not Social Security advisors, and you may need any or all of those people. But yeah. Nope. Yeah. So, hey, this is a membership. We have 27,798 members as of November 2024. How many of those do you think are over the age of 80? 80. Ha, you're wrong. It is 32. We have 32 flight attendants over the age of 80. And if you keep looking down the seniority list, 223 in the 75, 70 is the 74 is 719. A big group, the biggest group, 60 to 64, 4,953. Keep on going on down here. And finally get all the way down to our most junior people. So 25 to 29, we've got 2,900. That's a large group. 20 to 24, 1,293. Which means if you add up all those over the age of 55, we've got 12,306. Now, they used to be the majority, but not anymore because we're hiring. So in under 55, we've got 15,492. What's that mean? That means that over 12,000 of our people are eligible to retire today.
Whoa.
Yeah. So if it seems like APFA is putting forth a lot of time and effort and resources in talking about retirement, helping people get ready for retirement, planning for retirement, negotiating for retirement, that's because we are. Because this group represents a major portion of our membership. So, hey, Kim, what can you tell us about housekeeping?
Okay, a few little housekeeping items. First of all, the Good Slide handout that is available to download on the APFA website, or we'd be happy to send it to you by snail mail, follows the same information that's in this presentation. So if you have the packet, you don't need to take notes. If you want to just listen today and request the packet, we'll be happy to get it to you in your preferred mode of communication.
I'm going to go get a packet as a stamp.
Go get a packet. And questions, you can submit them via chat on the link for the retirement seminar. Checklist. In the back of our packet, there are some very useful checklists. They give you the information that you need if you're going to retire in 30 days, 6 months, you know, just things you need to think about if you're considering retirement. So take a look. It's very helpful. A contact list with all the benefits, contacts, your, you know, who to call at the company after you retire if you need something. But it also has the most important contact at all, which is retirement@apfa.org. Yay. So we want to talk about in our presentation today what retirement really means, the things you need to think about if you're considering retirement. So these are medical benefits. That's a huge factor. Your retirement benefits, such as your travel privileges and so on. And pension/401k benefits, which now that's the way it used to be. Now it's 401k/pension benefits because not nearly as many people have a pension as once did in the past. Thank you, bankruptcies. All right, and the medical benefits were also impacted by bankruptcy. We like to refer to that as the incredible shrinking basket because we don't have pre-funded medical benefits anymore. And this is the factor that is driving people continuing to work until age 65 and they're eligible for Medicare. All right, so there are important questions you need to ask if you're considering retirement. First off, what do you need to retire? What do you get in retirement? What about income? That's huge. And what else do I need to research? All those annoying little details that you didn't think you needed to know. This is all what we're going to cover in the presentation today. So, what do you need to retire? Well, you need to be eligible. You need money. And most of all, you need to be ready. You can have the other two, but if you're still thinking, oh, I love my job, I love my lifestyle, then you may not be ready. Some people are thinking, I'm over it, it's stressful, they're ready. So depends on which group you're in. In order to retire, you must have at least 10 years of company seniority based on your date of hire. And your age plus your company seniority must equal 65 points or more. So that's what the company refers to as the 65-point plan. And you have to have both of those pieces. If you start after age, 50, if you start at 55, you work 5 years, your age plus your years of service equals 65 or more, but you may not be, you have to get the 10 years of company seniority, no matter how old you are, in order to be eligible for those past benefits and so on when you retire. All right, money. This is an important factor of retirement, and Patrick's going to talk a little bit more about money. We need money.
All right, let's talk about money. When you're doing long-range planning, there are two major questions you have to answer. The first is, how much do I need to have saved on the day I retire to last me the rest of my life? And that's one of the most common questions we hear is, how much should I have? It depends. Do you still have 5 children under the age of 12? Or, are you living in a cabin with absolutely no expenses other than your taxes? You're going to need very different amounts of money. What are your other sources of income? This is why we say you will need to talk to a financial advisor, because that's what they do. They look at what you spend, they look at what your assets are, and then they're going to help you set that goal. How much do I need? And then once you've got that goal, then you say, how much do I need to save each year to reach that goal? And if you're just beginning to think about retiring and you haven't even begun to address those questions, you're going to have, I think the corporate speak is more challenges. My favorite in all of our slides is this one on the bottom right. I said you held Christmas off. I wouldn't know what to do. No, yeah. So in the financial planning, the general goal is you want to maintain the same lifestyle you had while you were working. And the problem I have with that is I'm tired of being poor. I'm going to be one of those wealthy retirees I see on TV, jetting off to the Bahamas and running off to the gym with their silver sneakers membership. But apparently that's not it. So if you plan to retire at 67, the first question you have to answer is, how long am I going to live? What? How long am I going to live? What kind of question is that? I mean, that's ridiculous. How long am I going to live? Yeah, and that's the first of our answers. Oh, please. And that's one of the most challenging parts of this is because how long I'm going to live is going to drive how much of money do I need to have. And so you kind of ask the questions, do I come from long-lived people or short-lived people? Your life expectancy in 2023 is 77.5 years. 2020 had the largest decline since World War II, and thankfully we have turned the corner, so now we're heading back up. But that still means that we've got 74.8 years for men on average and 80.2 years for women. Yay! Wait, what? Oh, guys, I got a question. That's like almost 6 years difference. If we run the world, how did we let that happen? Maybe it's just a myth that we run the world. No. And that's going to be less for African Americans, 72.8, more for Hispanics. And you have to ask the question, which half am I in? I got all this information on the National Vital Statistics Report, volume 64, book 6. It is the best cure for insomnia. I'm telling you, that you take that on the layover, you are going to sleep like a baby. But the problem with that guesstimate is it's just an average. Half of us are going to die sooner. Half of us are going to die later. I love telling the story. I started going gray in high school. Oh, it was miserable because, you're trying to fit in and people think maybe I'm a teacher or something. It was awful. I went home one day and I said, Mom, I discovered in biology class today that my gray hair is all your fault because everything about a man's hair comes on the mother's genes. So what's going to happen next? Am I going to go bald in college? I mean, did any of my uncles or grandparents go bald early? She said, so honey, none of them ever lived that long. Mm-hmm. Great. The best gift you can give your kids is a good genetic heritage. Thanks, Mom. But, we make fun of it, but it's really, that's the question. Which half are you in? Do you come from long-lived people? Or do you come from short-lived people? And the best way to look is look at your ancestors. And, that aunt they got, I remember I trained at 32. Yeah, throw her out. That doesn't count. But, how long did your grandmother or grandfathers live? That's always a good question. So, but the thing is, that's only one of it. There are other guesstimates that we have to get. And that's one is salary projection, because we know salaries always go up. Unless, of course, you're in the airline industry. How about inflation? We have 10 years or 11 years of virtually zero inflation, and now we're back to a more normal pattern. Of course, we think that's terrible because we've had 10 years of no inflation. And how about the stock market? Good Lord, I've given up on trying to predict what that is. Oh my God. Yeah, and you always try to avoid the drops, but hey, you do what you can. And that's one of the most frustrating things about retirement planning is that these are guesstimates. And we're flight attendants. We want the answer. We want the right answer. And there really isn't. There's just a educated guess. There are statistical probabilities. And making those educated guesses and helping you with those, that's where a good financial planner comes in. So that's money. Now comes the hardest question of all. Are you ready to retire? And the thing is, you need to be ready. We talked to a lot of flight attendants who already retired because the companies figured out some new way to screw them. And when we finally fixed the problem, I said, oh, wait a minute, I got to ask a question for you. Did you retire at the right time? Was it a good choice? And like 98, 99% were like, oh, it's the best thing I ever did. I don't know why I waited. My life was so full. I don't know how I ever had a chance to throw up for a trip. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you. But that 1 or 2% that aren't happy, why aren't you happy? I want to understand that. I don't want to make the same mistakes or jump to the wrong conclusions. And so it almost inevitably, it turns out that they didn't plan. They took the sudden out.
The sudden out?
The sudden out. That's where the supervisor and the union rep meet you on the jet bridge. And as you're walking up the jet bridge, the union rep whispers in your ear, I got your retirement. I just recommend you take it. Yeah, you hadn't planned on that. But there's nearly $40,000, man, that'll last me the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or your doctor says, no, you can never return to work. You didn't have a plan done. You may have been halfway through it, but you weren't ready. Hadn't planned. And I have got great news for you. You are watching this today because you are planning. You are going to be in the 98, 99% that are thrilled that they retired and don't understand why they waited so long. So you have to answer that question. Have you reached that point? Are you ready to retire? And, because we are flight attendants, we will ask you, we talk about it. You'll talk to your buddy bidder, you'll talk to that non-rev on the jump seat you've never seen before. You may even talk to your spouse about it. But, you're the one that has to make that decision. I talked to a retiree not too long ago, and she said, I was struggling with I want to go, but I'm not sure. And she said, all of a sudden, I said, wait, I've been here before. I was struggling with these same emotions when I was trying to decide if I wanted to go be a stewardess. Because when she got hired, it was stewardess, I'm telling you. And she said, I was never sure. And, 40-something years later, I finally retired. I guess I was sure at that point. But I wasn't sure I was ready to retire. but it seems to be working out, and the stewardess gig seemed to have worked out well as well. So, questions?
I think we only have one question for this group, and that is, I plan to retire at the end of 2025. Should the retirement date be December 31st or January 1st?
Yes.
It sort of depends.
She's a January 1st person. I'm a December 31st person. She's right, but I don't trust my company. But
There are a lot of reasons that you want it to be December 1st. And the main reason, January 1st, and the main reason is the insurance. If you have insurance through a spouse, you don't have to worry about this. But if you're going on Medicare, Medicare starts on the 1st of the month. And your AA active insurance ends on your last day as an active employee at midnight. So if you retire on December 31st, your active AA insurance will end at midnight on December 30th. And you'll be one day without insurance. So for a lot of people, that might not be a big deal. For a lot of people, they're uncomfortable being uncovered because what if something happens on that one day? So that's the main reason. Another reason is Medicare usually starts on the 1st, so you want to be covered until Medicare. Pensions usually start on the 1st. Social Security usually starts on the 1st. Always starts on the 1st of a calendar month. So these are the reasons people want their, usually just the insurance benefits is the main thing. But if you're retired, if you're coded RT, which is the code for retirement, on the 1st of a calendar month, you are retired on that day and you are eligible for a pension payment on that day. So
that's what Kim finally got me to understand it, that your last day worked, December 31st, is not your retirement date. You are still an active employee. Your first date of retirement is January 1st. So you're active on the 31st, you're retired. So, we say, well, I'm retiring on the 31st. No, not really. You're retiring on the 1st. So I finally got it. Thank you, Kim. All right. So,
okay, so
what do you get in retirement?
we're going to talk about what you get in retirement. Yay. Okay, so what do you get? Less and less, it seems. But now we got a few new things in our recent contract, so that's good. You do get your travel privileges. You get paid for your vacation and sick time. You get the option to elect the RHRA. All of these things are linked to the 65-point plan. So that's what means a retiree according to the company. So travel benefits, vacation sick payout, and the option to elect the RHRA. You get a retirement gift. And you get the status of being a retiree. Woohoo! You also get the option to purchase some really expensive retiree medical insurance if you separate between the ages of 55 and 65. So travel, let's talk about travel. You get your D1, D2R, D3, D2P, D3, AA20, and 20% off Advantage tickets. So you still get all that. And you notice the D1s do not have an R after them. So you get the same number of D1s and they don't have an R. So those are an important commodity in retirement. All non-rev travels booked through the non-rev travel planner website, which is on the AA retiree site, because once you retire, you no longer have access to JetNet, and you'll go to retirees.aa.com for everything you need as a retiree. The service charges and taxes are charged to your credit card as they are now as an active employee, so you don't really have to change anything. If you have D3s traveling and they have higher service charges and so on, you might want to have them put in their own credit card. Said fares are also booked on the My ID travel link, and there's some new changes to that I think for that, or maybe AA20s, you're going to have an Advantage number in order to process refunds and everything if the travel doesn't work out. So there's some new regulations you might want to check out. We're still kind of getting up to speed on those. Unfortunately, and this is another reason a lot of us wait a little bit longer, because you don't have jump seat authority any longer and you can't use KCM, which kind of sucks. There are some non-rev friendly travel websites such as Perks. There used to be Perks and Dargal, but they merged. So now it's just Perks. And then there's others that give travel industry discounts. And there's a list of, I guess, deals and discounts on the retirees website where you can find all of those. And also, if you want, and the timing is right before you retire, you can put in for TSA pre-check and global entry one more time and get the company to pay for it. So it's always a good idea if you're thinking of retiring in the next, 6 months to a year, and your TSA and global entry expire, go ahead and put in to get the company to pay for it one more time. All right. Sick time and vacation. Your unused sick time is paid out at $8.65 per sick hour. Ooh. All unused and accrued vacation is paid out at the new contractual rate, of 4 hours per day at your rate of pay. It used to be that any vacations of less than 7 days were paid out at a lower rate, but that is no longer the case. And you notice I said unused and accrued vacation. So if you've bid a vacation, you'll get paid for that. If you've earned vacation that has not even been bid yet, you'll get paid for that. Anytime you retire, it's like a vacation buyback, and you don't have to wait for June. Okay, unfortunately, the pay for your vacation is not eligible for the AA employer 401k match and contribution, but it is eligible for the employee deduction. So a lot of people choose to put some or all of this final payout for their vacation into their 401k. You can change your 401k deduction amount by going to the Fidelity website. So if you want to do that, that's how to do it. And if you ask Fidelity, they'll tell you the best time to do that. All right, retiree health reimbursement arrangement. This is a new benefit that we got in our most recent contract. Yay! You have to be eligible for the 65-point plan, and you need to notify the company at least 4 months in advance. And what you're able to do with the RHRA is have a 50% of the full value of your accumulated sick hours put into an account, which is called the RHRA. And the RHRA is what's called a notional account. There's not actual money in there, but it's credit for reimbursement for eligible health expenses. And RHRA is administered by Fidelity. And a list of eligible expenses can be found on the IRS website. This is the same account that people got who took the VOPS. And I would say for the most part, everybody's found it very useful to be able to get reimbursed for things like their Medicare premiums or prescriptions and that sort of thing. All right, you also get a retirement gift. Yay! You contact your flight service manager within the last 30 days of your employment to request your retiree gift catalog. The catalog comes with a commemorative certificate. Options include a wide array of dust collectors and gold glass plaques, jewelry. Here's an example of one that's from Tiffany. Oh no, this one's not from Tiffany, but it's an example of the fabulous tail that you can put on your shelf.
Crystal tail.
Crystal tail, yay. And another tip is to give yourself a gift by using those nonstop thanks points before you retire, because once you retire, you are not able to access those anymore. So make sure you use all your nonstop thanks and use all the allocation you have to give other nice flight attendants and co-workers a little gift before you leave.
Yes.
Yes, always a good idea. All right, your status is going to change from Sky Goddess to, wait for it, Cat Rancher. At least that's what Patrick and I aspire to be in retirement. So, retirees can submit an online request for a retiree ID. You can do this either prior to your retirement from the AA retirement guide that is called Step into Retirement, or you can do it after from the AA retirees site, so retirees.aa.com. You use this for discounts on shipping, hotels, car rentals, all your travel industry perks, FedEx. It is not used for your actual travel. So you can go off in non-rev without your retiree ID. Your government issued ID, your passport or driver's license will suffice for getting you on the plane as a non-rev because they'll recognize you. Access to the AA retiree site, retirees.aa.com is one of the perks, I guess, of being a retiree. Also, you'll have payroll access via the retiree site because you still got to pay those taxes. So you might want to be able to look at your pay information for the last couple of years. You would go to the new payroll system, or there may still be some in there that are under paperless pay or e-pays if you had those systems before. Your detailed sequence history, however, is not available on the retiree site. So if you want to print up those activity records and so on, do that before you retire. All right. If you're not able to retire, guess what? You can just quit or resign. So basically, you just notify your crew manager. Your vacation's paid out at the contractual rate, because that is contractual, thanks APFA. If you're LAA and you qualify for a pension, you need to contact Fidelity to find out how and when you can start drawing your pension. If you're LUS or former TWA flight attendant, you contact the PBGC if you haven't already started your pension and find out what you need to do to start that. Unfortunately, since you're not retiring and qualified for the 65-point plan, you basically lose your sick time. So unfortunate, but that's not a contractual thing, unfortunately. All right, any questions about this?
We do have questions. First off, an announcement. On the Teams app where you're showing, it says put your questions in here. If you click in there, it's not working. I will not regale you with my irritation with Teams, but that's just another. So if you have questions, please go ahead and email them to retirement@apfa.org, and we'll try and catch them at the end of the presentation. But the first question is, I know someone has reached the max sick hours that can be accumulated and no longer is earning sick hours. What is the max? I actually know that answer.
Patrick knows that answer.
If you look in the your contract, you will find in Article 9, Section C-2.2, that your max is 1,500 hours. When I started, it was 500. So 1,500 hours is great. And thank you, APFA. So that's that. Okay, now a question for you, Kim. I submitted my retirement notice in October, effective December 31st, 2024, like we were talking about. I received a confirmation of that. I have no other communication from AA except notice that my security credentials expired on January 1st, 2025. Yeah, because you're not an employee anymore, so you don't get that. I've called via benefits and they have no info from AA. Should I expect to be receiving further info? Is this normal? Also, should I receive 35 days vacation payout, and when and how will that be paid out?
Okay, so if you're going to retire on December 31st, you have accrued, as long as you've worked it and been active every calendar month, you will have accrued the 35 days if that's your vacation accrual rate. So that would mean you're at the top of the pay scale and have a certain number of years. So you would be paid out for all those 35 days of vacation that you've accrued that we haven't bid for yet. And the rest of the question, you submitted your notification to the company, and the company does send you a confirmation that they received your notification. They update your status in your HI-10 if you pull that up. However, they do not. This is normal right now, but I will pass along the suggestion that they also notify you if you put in for the RHRA, whether or not that went in, and but no, you don't receive any other info. When they send you the confirmation email, they do send you a link to their retirement guide called Step into Retirement. But other than that, you don't expect to get anything from the company, which is why we have a lot of people calling us to ask questions, because they're not the best communicators these days.
Shocking, yeah. And Kim's right. Probably the gold standard is going to be DEPS. So pull up your HI-10 and see if it's got a 1125 RT code, because that means you're leaving.
But if you want to know for sure, because I think I'm jumping to the next question, you mind? If you,
Well, that's it.
Okay.
Let's go. We can go ahead and jump to that one.
let's jump to the.
How do you
next
check to see if your chosen retirement date meets the 4-month cutoff for RHRA? I submitted my retirement date in 4 months, in my mind anyway, and I wanted to check that I chose the correct date and my math matches the company math. I sent an email to FSM and APFA, and no one has answered how to confirm the date, and that I chose as eligible. Please advise for future retirees, where can you obtain this information? And please advise me I am eligible. I actually looked you up, and you do have an RT on that date.
But he wants
To know about the RHRA.
About the RHRA, and this is the thing that the company doesn't tell you. So the only way to find out for sure and confirm, there's 2 things you can do. Call your flight service manager, and they'll probably be clueless. So the better way is to email fa.admin@aa.com. And
Say that again.
fafa.admin@aa.com. So they should know, because they track all the administrative stuff, when you're retiring, if you got your notification in time. And if you try that and you're not able to get a reply, they're usually pretty quick about getting back to you. But if you don't get a reply, email me again, and I will direct somebody down to confirm that your RHRA was, approved and everything. Based on the dates that you sent, it appears that it would have been. There's no reason why it wouldn't, but it would be nice in the company's confirmation email if they would also mention that you elected the RHRA, and, they're aware of that. And I'll pass that suggestion along.
Yes. And speaking of the RHRA, I have both an HSA and an RHRA. Is it possible to use the RHRA funds prior to using the HSA funds? Because the HSA funds are something that I can leave to beneficiaries. That's not true of the RHRA. Can I use those first?
I think you can use them in whatever order you want to use them. They're different accounts. If you put in for one, the credit will come out of that one. If you put in for another one, the credit will come out of that one. So the only thing is, there's an RHRA associated with one of the plans that the company has, the plus plan, the standard plus plan. So if you put into that, you're getting credit for retirement, and it's called an HRA, but it will be an RHRA for retirement. So funds from that will automatically roll into your RHRA when you retire. And so, but yeah, you can use the funds in whatever order you choose.
When you go to Fidelity to put in your request for reimbursement, you get to choose which account you're requesting reimbursement from. All right.
All right.
I think that is the rest of our questions for now.
So let's see where we are next.
Let's see where we're at. Hey, what about income? Let's talk about
your
income.
area.
Hey, in retirement, you're going to have multiple streams of income, and we hope, yes, if you did it right, you've got multiple streams of income. You're going to have your 401k. You're going to have your IRA, or individual retirement account. You're going to have your Social Security. And we'll talk about whether or not you're really going to have that. You're going to have savings, and that may be something more than what you're thinking about off the top of your head. And you may or may not have a pension, depending on your career. 401k. Well, that reminds me. What about my? Oh, yes. So, and every time I look at this list, I'm happy that I have this 5 streams of income, because it's kind of like having a 5-legged stool. It's very stable, and if one of the legs gets kicked out from underneath you, that it's going to hurt, but it's still going to be usable and stable. And so, for example, let's say the new administration coming in decides that we need to make some changes to Social Security in order to make it survive, and they say, hey, well, you had a 401k which was tax deferred, so you got a benefit from the government on that. Or you have enough money saved, you don't need your full Social Security, so we're gonna give you less or nothing. They wouldn't do that,
Or would they?
or would they? Yeah. The thing is that if that were to happen and you were to not have Social Security anymore, you would have the other legs of your stool, which would allow you to continue on. And every time I look at this list, I'm so glad I belong to a union that cares about making sure that its members have resources in retirement and works hard on keeping all 5 of these legs available. And I contrast that to the more than 50% of people on Social Security that's their primary source of income. I mean,
scary.
That is scary. I mean, what kind of security is it when your entire financial life depends on the good graces of the U.S. Congress? Whoop, scary. But hey, speaking of 401k, what about that 401k loan? Well, the first option is that you can continue to pay the loan back on your current amortization schedule or pay it off entirely. And since you're not going to be able to have that payment taken out of your paycheck, they're going to have to set up a direct payment or direct debit from your checking account.
But that's still the best option.
That's still the best option, yeah. The second option is to stop making payments, and they make the outstanding balance will be treated as a distribution, which will be taxed as income and subject to penalty if you're not yet age 59 and a half. That's a terrible choice, because now that money is no longer going to be earning income for you for later in retirement. Also about the 401k, one last thing to remember, your 401k is going to freeze for the first 30 days after you exit from the company. I mean, freeze. You can't get in, you can't make changes, you can't take money out, you can't put money in. So if you need money in the first 30 days from your 401k, you might want to consider rolling some out prior to your actual date of departure. I want to point out that if you need money out of your 401k in the first 30 days, you might not quite be ready for retirement. Yeah, talk to a financial planner about that. What can you do with the 401k? You can roll it into an IRA. And you will be inundated with people encouraging you to roll your 401k into an IRA. And I'm pretty sure that has nothing to do with the fact that when you sell the stocks in the 401k and move the money over and buy the same stocks in your IRA, that they get a commission on that sale. I'm sure that's got nothing to do with their encouragement to put it into an IRA. If you have a new 401k, say you go get a job with Walmart, welcome to Walmart, welcome to Walmart. They've got a great 401k you can invest in. Or you can leave it with and manage it through Fidelity just as you do now, even though you're retired. You still have the same interface, everything's the same. And one thing about 401k, the larger the group, the more that the overhead costs are averaged over more people, so the costs are low. Our administrative costs are very low. It's less than $100 a year administrative costs. And I'm in another 401k, and my administrative costs are $240 a year. So
Whoa.
Less than $100 a year is a great deal. So that's always a good option to have. So that's the 401k. Let's talk about the IRA. And just like the 401k, you've got a pre-tax and a post-tax, or the Roth IRA. The thing about the IRA is that there are limits as to who can contribute, and that's based on your income. If you make more than $150,000 as a single, and I ran across someone on my last trip that is going to make more than $150,000 as a flight attendant in 2024 because of the retro pay,
Wow.
They will not be allowed to contribute to an IRA. If you make more than $236,000 married filing jointly, you married better than I did. And
Me too.
so yeah, so yeah. As a matter of fact, I had a neighbor call me. It's been a year now. He was doing his taxes for 2023, and he was all upset. He says, they won't let me contribute to my IRA. I said, because you made too much money. Write me a river. Yeah. So yeah. The other thing you can do is that you can convert your 401k into an IRA, and if you're still active, you can convert it back. But once you leave the company, that is a one-way door. Once you convert money from your 401k into an IRA, you can't come back. And that may be a good idea, or it may not. You'll want to talk to a financial planner that has your interests at heart. Make sure you know how they're getting paid. Are they getting a commission? Are you paying them an hourly rate? There are some financial advisors, for instance, the credit union. If you remember the credit union, their financial advisors just get a salary. So it doesn't matter to them what you invest in. They try to do it so that it's good for you. So make sure if you get advice on conversion that you know what you're doing. And the products are not the same. We like to think, they're all tax deferred accounts. Well, they're different. The 401k is a product of federal law. It's under RHRA, and therefore you have 100% creditor protection. What's that mean, creditor protection? Well, if somebody sues you and tries to take everything you've got, they can't get at your 401k. Your IRA, your protection from creditors depends on what state you're in. In Texas, surprisingly, it's 100% protected from creditors, but I think it's Michigan, that only the first $50,000 of it is protected from creditors. They get the rest. So that's a thing to think about with the 401k and the IRA conversions. Kim, questions?
Okay, we do have a few 401k questions. So the first one is a financial question. If I retire December 31st, 2024, and pension begins January 1st, 2025, and due to my age, I must take RMDs from my 401k, when is my first RMD of 401k to be paid? In tax year 2024 or tax year 2025?
Okay.
Let
me answer that first. Okay, so based on what you just said, your first day of retirement is in 2025. You're an active employee in December. So you were not yet retired in 2024. You have no RMDs for 2024. When it's due is the safest is to pay it by December 31st, 2025. However, there's this weird little rule that says your first year that you have RMDs, you can actually pay it as late as April 15th of the following year. But that's almost always linked to turning the age in which you have to make RMDs. You said you're already of that age. Just to be sure, I would make sure that you make that RMD by December 31st, 2025.
Okay, and then this person says, and how do you take the RMD for 2024? Well, she doesn't have to take it.
No.
Could she if she wanted to?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not an RMD at that point because the RMD is the required amount. However, a lot of financial planners say, hey, if you're not sure how much to take out, go to the RMD table, because the RMD table is structured for you to take your last dollar out as you're dying. So that's a really good measure for how much should I take out. But you don't have RMDs in 2024 if you're not retired in 2024.
And then she says, he or she says, am I better to retire January 30th, 2024, so I don't do a tax penalty? But no, because if you retire on January 1st, 2025, you're not obligated for any RMDs for 2024.
Correct.
So,
and if you wait until the end of January, you got that whole month of insurance issues. So
and you can stick with your original plan, you're fine. Okay, the next one is, how soon can I start taking money out of my 401k when I retire at the age of 70? And will it affect the amount I get in Social Security? No.
The amount you get in Social Security after your full retirement age is completely divorced from what your other income is. That's not to say it doesn't influence taxes on Social Security, but how much you get out of Social Security is divorced. You can start taking money out of your 401k after that 30-day freeze expires, and you can set it up so that you call them and say, hey, send me another $10, or you can set it up that they send you, it's called replicating a paycheck environment, in which they send you a fixed amount, $4,000 every month on the 15th, or however you want to do that. And you initiate those by going to the Fidelity website, go to your 401k, withdrawals and loans, and set up a withdrawal.
And then we have someone on the ball who was listening to us because we got an email question.
All right.
So the email question about what's about pension, so we can wait for that because that's the next section. So, and then let me check one more thing to see if there's any more questions that came in like as a call. No. And no. Okay, we're good to move on to the next section.
All right. What can you tell us about Social Security?
Okay. The main thing is that I never thought I'd be old enough to even be discussing Social Security. I mean, I remember all my ancient great aunts and uncles sitting around the table talking about their old aches and pains and their Social Security, and I thought, oh my gosh, am I ever gonna be that old? Well, I'm almost that old.
Yeah.
It's scary. Okay, Social Security may be taken as early as age 62 and as late as age 70. There's no increase after age 70, so don't wait, after age 70 to start taking it. The website for Social Security, where all the useful information is www.ssa.gov. And married couples have some very complicated decisions on how and when to draw their Social Security. I think if you're single, you have 9 different options, and if you're married, that multiplies into 81 different possible options. So guess what? Talk to a Social Security advisor, or there are apps that can show you how to maximize your Social Security benefits if you're a nerd like Patrick. All right, so we're going to talk about the pros and cons of taking early Social Security at age 62. One pro is that you get more years of payments. Another is that you can get the money early if you need it now. A con is that you're going to have lower payments for the rest of your life. And a con that also is that you're subject to income limits. So if you're still working and when you hit your normal Social Security retirement age, so
until you hit that age.
Until you hit that age, yeah. So if you're working, and even if you're just playing the hard 40, you're going to make more than the income limit for early Social Security. So you're going to be taxed higher over and above a certain amount. So that amount is in 2025, $23,400. If you make more than that and you're taking early Social Security, you're going to have to deduct $1 of benefit for every $2 you make over that limit. So keep that in mind. Not always a good idea to start early Social Security while you're still working because of those taxes. The break-even point on whether to take early or regular Social Security is the average age of death, and none of us know when we're going to die. So you kind of just have to do that little calculation in your head. I feel pretty healthy. My relatives live pretty long, and then decide what's going to be best for you. So when should I start? Again, this is the graph that pretty much illustrates the same thing I just said. The blue line is someone that starts their Social Security early, like maybe one of Patrick's uncles that lost their hair, and well, they didn't even live long enough to find out. And then the other one is someone like my grandmother who got a new car at the age of 89 or 90. And the red line, someone lived longer and started their Social Security at the normal retirement age time. And lines crossed where that you would break even would be the average age of death. So that's a little illustration of when you might want to take it. Okay, so full Social Security at your SSNRA, which is Social Security Normal Retirement Age. In the year you reach your normal retirement age for Social Security, which is age 67 for anyone born in 1960 or after. Basically, in that year, you get a little bit of break on your income limits, so you can earn up to $62,160 prior to beginning your Social Security.
Wait a minute.
Is that right?
Yeah, but I was born in November, which means that if I wait until I have a lot more months that I have to squeeze into that 62,000.
Yeah, you're screwed by your birthday.
Man, and now with the new higher wages, 11 months is gonna be more than 62,000.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So something to think about. Might want to retire earlier in the year.
Exactly.
Make that and figure out when you're going to make that amount and then go. And don't wait for your birthday.
So earnings, hey.
Or do it the next year after you turn that age in your situation.
All right.
All right.
So.
Okay, so the chart here is what shows basically if you were born prior to age 67, when you can start your Social Security, because a lot of people ask, when can I start? So here's that information.
All right.
All right. So what counts as earnings for Social Security, Patrick?
Funny you should ask, because we're saying you have these earnings limits. Well, what do you mean earnings? What are earnings? Well, Earnings include income from wages or net earnings from self-employment. So you like run a little booth down there, you're running some sort of design where you're selling your services. It also includes bonuses, commissions, severance pay. Anything you're getting as a result of selling your services counts as earnings. However, here's the good news. Earnings does not include investment income, pensions, capital gains, and inheritance. Thus, dividends and capital gains won't negatively affect your Social Security benefits directly, even if you decide to file earlier than your full retirement age. What that means is that you could retire at 62, start your pension, start drawing from your 401k, or your Roth 401k, and Roth IRA, and start your Social Security early, and you're not penalized because those aren't earnings under that definition. So sometimes we get asked, hey, is there tax on Social Security? Maybe. So good news is the first 15% of your Social Security is tax-free. But then to determine how much else of that is going to be taxed, we look at what your other income is. So say you've got $30,000 worth of Social Security income, and then on top of that, you earn another $30,000, working at Walmart. Mm-hmm. So what this chart shows you is that everything above up to $25,000 of income means that we don't tax any of your Social Security. However, if you're in $25,000 to $34,000, we're going to tax 50% of your Social Security. Now, that's not the tax rate. That's just how much of your Social Security is subject to tax. And then if you're earning over $34,000 as a single, we're going to tax that whole 85% of your Social Security that might be subject to tax. So one of the things a financial advisor can help you do is figure out, okay, when should I take more money out of my 401k because it's not going to cost me anything? Mm-hmm. I was actually talking to a financial advisor yesterday about there's this tool. You throw in how much is my Social Security, how much can I take out of my 401k, how much can I take out of my Roth, and it'll say, okay, now it's December 15th, and you could still take another, and the number yesterday was $12,500 out of your 401k and not jump into the next bracket for your Social Security. So
that's a good tool.
That's a great tool.
Maybe we should put it on our list of resources in our packet.
Well, I asked about getting a copy of it, and he said he pays $1,000 a year for it.
Well, forget it.
Yeah, never mind. But yeah, so
go to a financial advisor and
use their tool.
Use their tool.
Exactly. So that's federal. What about state taxes on Social Security? Well, in 37 states, your Social Security is tax-free. So 100% of it is tax-free. 13 states do tax some or all of your Social Security. Who are those bad boys? Colorado, which means that you might want to think about, where am I going to retire to? And if you decide, oh, New Mexico sounds like a wonderful, warm, lovely place to retire. It's dry. My rheumatoid arthritis isn't going to be. Yeah, except now you're paying state taxes on Social Security.
But you might have better Medicare options.
You may.
You never know. There's a reason for that.
So that's one of the things to think about when you're trying to think about what am I going to do for where am I going to live after I retire. We were talking about all those different legs to the stool for income streams. So let's talk about savings. Normally, when you think about savings, you think about cash, stocks, and bonds, but in addition to that, you may have some hidden savings. For instance, home equity. And I'm really not talking about getting one of those reverse mortgages. I don't think they're good products. If you need it, you need it, but I really don't think that's a good idea. However, you may have this 4-bedroom, 6-bath suburban home because you had a big family and now you don't. So what if you were to sell that monstrosity and buy a 2-bedroom condo somewhere where you don't have to mow the lawn, you don't have to worry about, the roof, you don't have to worry about anything, and it's a whole lot less to clean. So, but what happens is that you'll end up with a whole bunch of extra money because that condo is not going to cost anywhere near what you got for selling that big home. That's one way to tap your home equity and also make your life a whole lot easier. There's also life insurance, and I'm not talking about what you get when you kill your spouse. have a good alibi. Well, no, what I am talking about is that there are two kinds of insurance. There's term, where you say, I'm betting that I'm gonna die within this window, and if I don't die, you lose. Or is that win? I'm not sure. But anyway, and that's what we have in American is the term. There's also this product called whole life, in which you build cash value inside of that life insurance. And you can sometimes withdraw the money that you have contributed to that life insurance policy. So that's one of the possibilities there. And then we've got to talk about pensions. Kim, what can you tell us about pensions?
Okay, time for pensions. Basically, if you have a pension, it's going to be dependent on where you started your career as to the rules that govern when and how you can take that pension. So could have started with one of the U.S. Airways carriers or one of the carriers that became part of AA. If you started at U.S. Airways, whoa, look at all the places you might have started your career, and there's several different rules for these different groups. So let's go through it a little bit. Basically, for Trump Shuttle, the early pension age is age 52. The full pension age is age 62. For all of these pension options, if you start your pension before the full pension age, there is a 3% per year reduction in the full value of your pension. So keep that in mind. For Piedmont, Allegheny, U.S. Airways, your early pension age is age 55 and your full pension age is age 62. If you started at PSA, your early pension age is age 55, but your full pension age isn't until age 65. Yikes. So that 3% per year, if you started early, would be a little bit better. I mean, bigger if you started your career at PSA. The legacy AA pensions, your early pension age is age 55 and your full pension age is age 60. The 3% per year applies here if you would take your pension early as well. Also, there's no double dipping for the LAA pensions. Bummer, except in one rare circumstance. But if that applies to you, you can give me a call if you have questions. All right, double dipping. I just said there's no double dipping for the legacy AA flight attendants when it comes to pensions. However, what is double dipping? Well, basically it means you can take your pension while you're still working. And former U.S. Airways and former TWA flight attendants are able to do that because their pension's not held by the company that they're still working for. It's held by the PBGC. And the PBGC changed their rules in 2021 on June 1st. And it used to be that you had to wait till you reached your full pension age before you could take your pension while you were working. Now you can start to double dip at the early pension age if you prefer. So you would contact the PBGC if you want to do that, and the early reductions do still apply. There's no reduction if you wait until the full pension age, no matter what. All right, pension options. Patrick, what you can tell us about how many different ways we can get our money?
What a great question. There are three basic ways that you can get your money. A single life annuity. The PBG calls this a straight life annuity, but thank God the letters SLA are good to both because airlines run on caffeine, jet fuel, and acronyms. But the second way is you can share it with someone else. And I do remind you, it's nice to share. And the third way is that you can get a minimum number of checks. And if you're with LAA, there's a fourth option, and that is that you can get more upfront, less later. Let's look at those. The single life annuity, you get a check every month until you're dead, and then it stops. And a payment every month is an annuity. We've got a lot of annuities in our lives. We don't call them that. Sometimes we call them loans, mortgages, savings account. But this annuity is for life, for your life. So it's one life, and so it's a single life annuity. The PBGC again calls that a straight life annuity. SLA is the normal form of benefit. Well, what's mean by normal? That's one of those loaded words. Well, it has a couple of meanings in this context. The first is that that's what a lot of people take. I mean, it's the normal form of benefit. The other is, remember when we were talking about how you have to calculate how much you need to have on the day you retire? The employer has to do the same thing. They have to calculate how much do I have to have in the pension on the day that Patrick retires so that we can make that contribution, make those payments for the rest of his life. They have to calculate, how long am I going to work? How long, how much am I going to make? How long am I going to live? And they have to pay that out. And one of the questions is, what choice am I going to make for my payouts? Because that changes the funding obligations. And they assume that I'm going to take the SLA, the single life annuity. That becomes the normal form of benefit. And so they calculate that number to determine their funding. And the value of that SLA, which is kind of the basic one, determines what all the other payment options are. Well, let's talk about those other options. It's nice to share. That's a pension for your life and someone else's life as well. They will get an annuity after you're gone, and if they survive you, and therefore we're going to call that the survivor annuity. You never get two checks in the same month, that it's either going to you or it's going to your survivor. So it's called the survivor annuity. And remember, we're still drawn out of that same big pile of money that was saved into the pension. So you can choose to leave them between 50, 100% of what you get, not your SLA amount, but your share of the joint annuity. However, the more you leave them, the less you get while you're alive. Bummer. Well, I guess I've got to leave Bozo something, because otherwise they're going to be living under a bridge. And, I got responsibility. So I decide I'm going to take less while I'm alive, so they have something after I'm dead. And we go on. Oh no, what happens if they die first? Oh my God, I am stuck at that lower monthly amount. I could have had a higher amount with a single life annuity, but I was being a good guy. Yeah, no. It's just kind of one of the risks you have to take. But we've got good news. There's a way to cover that risk. Flight attendants have another option called the pop-up option. And by taking a slightly lower amount each month, you can cover that risk that the joint annuitant dies first. With the pop-up option, if your joint annuitant dies first, you pop back up to the single life annuity the next month for the rest of your life, just as though you never made that decision. So most people who take a survivor annuity, or we call joint, go and take the pop-up option because it's cheap insurance. The price difference depends on the age difference between you and your joint annuitant. If you put your, 20-year older spouse on there, yeah, the price is going to be really low, because what's the likelihood you're going to die before them? If you put your 20-year-old niece on there, the price is going to be huge, because there's a really good chance they're going to live after you, and then they're going to get that survivor annuity for the next 80 years, because all of our kids are going to live to be 100 unless they step on my lawn one more time. But yeah, so those are those, and most people will take one of those two options. However, there is another choice, and that is the guaranteed period certain, and that's more upfront and less later. No. Guaranteed period certain. Checks come from a minimum of 10, 15, or 20 years for LAA, or 5, 10, or 15 years for LUS over the PBGC. And it's weird that people would take this. Remember I said that if you put your 20-year-old niece on there, your payments or your pension payments going to be really small. If you instead did the guaranteed period certain, then your amount while you're alive and the amount you leave them afterwards does not drop a substantial amount, because there's a limit. They're not going to get that for the 80 years. They're going to get that for 10 years or 15 or 20 years. So it's not very many people that would do it. It's usually people that are pretty sure they're going to be dead soon, but don't want to take the huge hit by giving it to someone younger. So that's that option. There's a fourth option if you're legacy AA, and that's the level income option, and that's more upfront, less later. And that, again, is really weird. Not many people would benefit from this. I don't think it's actuarially sound, but I lose that argument with the company all the time. But what it is say you took the sudden out. You are now 60 and you're not eligible for Social Security yet, and you don't have any income except your pension, and it's not enough. AA says, we got a deal for you. We will give you more now until you're eligible for Social Security, either 62 or your full age. You get to choose. And at which point we'll cut your pension, sometimes rather dramatically. Sometimes down to zero. Yeah. But that will give you more now, and even at, so it kind of levels it out between what you have now and what you'll have when Social Security kicks in. Again, probably not a great option unless you need it now to pay the house payment. So, yeah. So, how do I apply for my pension? Well, no earlier than 90 days, but I need to plan longer than that. Sorry.
You
No,
can plan longer.
You can
than
plan, but you just can't get your 90. You request a kit, and this is the stack of papers that you have to fill out to apply for your pension. You can request a kit by calling the AA Pension Service Center Fidelity, and or you can go online to the netbenefits.com/AA, and under the Collect tab, you can follow the prompts, and they will send you the kit. It's going to be on paper because it's ERISA, federal government rules, and they need an ink signature from you. So for the LUS pensions, you contact the PBGC directly, and that's their 800 number, or the www.pbgc.org. .gov.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about tax on Social Security. Are there taxes on pensions? Well, you pay taxes on pensions as though it was ordinary income, somewhere between 10 and 37%. And that depends on how much your total income is. If you only make 11,000 to 44,000, you will pay 12% tax rate on everything over 11,000. Every time you earn up to 11,000 is at a 10% tax rate. If you move down to the bottom and you're making more than 578,000, you're not a flight attendant.
Yeah.
And you married better than I did, and
we're really jealous.
And we're really jealous. So yes, you'll pay the 37% rate there. And some people go, oh, 37, that sounds crazy. Yeah, I remind you that when Ronald Reagan took office, the marginal tax rate was 77%, and he got it all the way down to 58%, or something like that. So yeah. So that's good to know, is that some states don't tax pensions at all. There are 14 states, or tax only a portion of the pensions, 4 states. So again, you want to look at the list. Where do I want to live? Because that may impact my taxes on pensions. Remember, your mileage rate may vary. This numbers used are for some mythical flight attendant and not you. So, Kim, any pension tips?
Yes, I actually have a few pension tips.
All right.
And another thing on the requesting your pension paperwork, yes, there are some things that you can sign, you have to sign because of legalities and so on. However, there's a lot more that you can do online or even over the phone now. So, your kit that they send you is not as big as it used to be. If you call Fidelity, they'll take a lot of the information over the phone and then just send you the couple of pages that you have to sign. And you could submit the same pages that don't need to be signed online by hitting that Collect tab on the Fidelity website, because I helped somebody do it the other day and I was like, this is so cool. And then they only send you a couple of things to sign. So that's getting a little bit easier if you like to do things online, or call Fidelity. Pension kits can be requested, as Patrick mentioned, from AA or the PBGC no more than 90 days out from retirement. And I think the latest you can request them, I know for the AA pensions, and I'm not sure about the PBGC, but it might be comparable, is if you're going to start your pension on the 1st of a calendar month, you have to request it by the 15th of the previous month. So that's the latest you can request it, and then the furthest out you can request it is 90 days out. Pensions can start, pensions always start on the 1st of the calendar month, as we've mentioned a few times. You need to be done with your last trip by the end of the previous calendar month, not the bid month, okay? Because the pensions always go by the calendar month. Fly through trips that cannot be dropped. And this really shouldn't be happening because we have this automatic retirement notification form now. And once you put it in, it should automatically remove you from any trips that touch your retirement date. But it's good to double check and be sure, because any fly through trips that would keep you on payroll would be preventing you from receiving your pension payment for that month. So just always double check, just in case there's a glitch in the system or something. All right, more pension tips. You need to have copies of all divorce decrees and quadros. Your pension could be delayed if these documents are not submitted with your pension kit or within, a certain period of time after submitting the things online. If you're a widow or a widower, include a copy of the death certificate with your kit when you return it. The first month is always paid retroactively. So don't expect if you're going to retire on January 1st that you're going to get your first pension payment boom on January 1st, because the pension is not, at least for the LAA pensions, it's not even processed until Fidelity receives a notification from the company that you have actually retired. Why? Because people change their minds sometimes. So usually it says 4 to 6 weeks. They're getting a little bit better. It's normally about 2 to 4 weeks now after you retire that you would receive your first pension payment if all your paperwork is in and they have everything that they need. But that's not too bad. And sometimes you get, like, if you retire on January 1st, you'll get January and February both on February 1st. All right, the qualified pre-retirement survivor annuity. What is it? Well, federal law says that your spouse automatically gets a 50% joint and survivor annuity if you pass away. So if you're a pension holder and you pass away, your spouse is automatically going to get a 50% joint and survivor annuity. The qualified pre-retirement survivor annuity is a benefit for legacy AA flight attendants, which was negotiated by the union, that allows you to leave 100% joint and survivor annuity to your spouse if you were to die before you commence your pension payments. So this is basically, you're still working, you haven't retired and started your pension, or you retired, then something happens to you before you can commence your pension benefits. If you're legally married for more than 12 months, you can fill out this form. So you can elect to leave the forms on netbenefits.aa.com, so the Fidelity website, and you can elect to leave a higher benefit up to 100%, but you could leave like a 60 or 75 or 100% benefit. But if you're not going to be around, why not leave it all?
Maybe I don't like them that much.
Maybe just leave it at the 50% then, Flight attendants are the only group in the company that has this benefit without paying for it. So if you talk to a pilot, they'll say, ooh, don't fill out the QIPSA form because they're going to reduce your pension. Well, that is not the case for flight attendants. Yay.
Thank you, APFA.
Yes, thank you, APFA. You can fill out the form, the company pays for it. You don't have to pay anything for it. The only caveat is you must have been married at least 12 months in order to fill out the form. So no deathbed marriages would qualify for this. Bummer. I know. If only. All right. Any questions about pensions? And I think we've got it.
Yes, we do. Kim, I've been married 2 times since I started working for American. I am legacy AA. Both were less than 10 years. Do I have to have divorce papers for both of those marriages?
Oh, heck yeah, you do. I think. I mean, as long as it was during the time period that you were getting the credit for the pension. So,
yep.
To be safe, go ahead and send them both in, and it's going to save you any hassles.
And delays.
And delays, exactly. So yes, you do. And you said that something about 10 years with Social Security that they might be confusing this with?
Yeah. If you are married to someone for more than 10 years, 10 or more years, and then you divorce, they are eligible to be a surviving spouse for your Social Security when they reach full Social Security age. But you have to have been married for more than 10 years, or you have to die while you're still married. And sometimes people get that 10-year rule, think that's universal. It's not true for our pensions.
Okay, and then we had another pension question that came in on the email, and you kind of went over it in your presentation, but maybe just reinforce that information. What is the difference between the 100% joint and survivor annuity and the 100% pop-up joint and survivor annuity annual? I don't know if they want to know the price difference but I mean, it's not a huge difference, but.
No, and like I said, the difference between having the pop-up and not having the pop-up depends on the age difference between you and the joint annuitant. And the difference with the pop-up is that if they die first, you're not locked into the joint and survivor. You can go back to the single life annuity.
And if your spouse that you elected to have the, 100% joint and survivor pop-up annuity passes away, you would have to send in the death certificate at that point. And then once you do that, based on the date of the death, the next pension payment would be at the higher single life annuity rate. Correct, that's how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Kim, where do I find the 2025 COBRA cost information?
Ooh,
I cannot find it anywhere in
that's in
AA
our next
benefits.
group of questions, I think.
All right.
We haven't talked about COBRA yet, but I think
And
we're.
foreshadowing.
Yes, you're foreshadowing. We're talking about medical insurance options in this next section, and we'll answer that question.
All right. Another question.
Is it for this group?
Pensions.
Okay, pensions, okay.
I've been married whoops.
We answered that one.
Yeah. I have about 5 years before I plan to retire. If I should pass away before then, what happens to my pension? And what happens to my Social Security if I'm not started to collect? Would it go to my spouse? Well, the first one, the pension, we already asked that your spouse gets gets a 50% joint survivor unless you fill out the COBRA form, and then they get 100%. And that they get that when you would have reached your normal Social Security or pension eligibility age. For Social Security, your Social Security isn't like the pension, a pile of money sitting out there. Your Social Security is the right to claim on the big Social Security pile of money. And so your spouse and your children have a right to draw benefits based on your service. So if but that right is balanced against their own right to claim on Social Security. So if you and your spouse both made the same amount of money for the whole time, your Social Security would be the same. They don't get any extra benefit from you because they only get the amount that's more than theirs. It sounds really weird because when we talk about it, we say, well, you'll get to claim on the higher person's, the higher earning person's Social Security, but that's not really how they do it. What they do is they let you claim on your own, and then they add on top of that anything that would be above and beyond from your spouse.
It sounds like if I was in that situation, I would call a Social Security advisor to help me figure it out.
Exactly. And also, if you go to ssa.gov and you have to log in and create an account and everything, but you can get one of those printed out forms that they used to mail to us to talk about what your Social Security will be at future dates based on your current income. And it also talks about your spouse survivor rights.
Cool.
All right. What else we got?
Go to those little crazy medical insurance options that we were going to talk about. Thank you for catching that question.
No worries.
All right, so medical insurance options are number one, COBRA. If you do, this is if you're not eligible for Medicare, obviously. COBRA is expensive. You see those dollar signs? We're gonna show those dollar signs to give you an approximation about how much these options are going to cost you. So we've got the AA retiree medical insurance. Yikes, that's even more dollar signs than COBRA, and COBRA is already really expensive. So this is why not very many people choose that option. The Affordable Care Act can be, comparable to COBRA or less depending on your income level and whether you qualify for any subsidies. Medicare, it's, comparable to what we're paying as active employees pretty much. Probably less if you're on the high cost coverage plan, but if you're in the standard or standard plus plan, it's probably pretty comparable to that. And the old fashioned way for finding insurance, well, you can marry somebody with insurance or be married to somebody with insurance or die young, but that's not really an option. I want to enjoy my retirement, forget about it. Okay, so let's talk about COBRA, the first of those options. COBRA is a way to continue the health insurance you had as an active employee. So let's see, people go, what's my COBRA benefit going to be like? It's the exact same benefit you had when you were active. The only difference is, guess what? You got to pay for the full cost. And the good thing is you don't have to reestablish your deductible. So if you're retiring in the middle of the year and you've already met your deductible, it's the same plan that you've been on that year, and you don't have to reestablish your deductible, which is great. Yeah, you do have to pay the full cost plus a 2% admin fee. Yikes. The coverage can last for up to 18 months if for regular COBRA, like a retirement COBRA election. If you're disabled, you could get up to 29 months of COBRA if you're eligible for Social Security disability. The COBRA must be taken within 60 days of the life event, which would be your retirement. And it's a one-shot deal. So if you miss that enrollment window, guess what? You have to find another source of benefits, unfortunately. Okay, more about COBRA. COBRA can include medical, dental, vision, your flexible spending, and you can mix and match these coverages. For instance, a lot of people who retire and are eligible for Medicare elect to continue their dental coverage for another 1.5 years with the COBRA. And it's not a bad idea. It's not that expensive for the dental. Once coverage begins, it's retroactive to the date you leave American Airlines. So really, if you wait the 60 days to sign up for it, it's not going to start when you sign up for it. It's going to be retro back to your retirement date. So you're not going to save money by doing that. Payments are important to get on time. Don't be late or your coverage will be dropped. They're really picky about that. All right, so one last thing, if you're eligible for Medicare, COBRA is not considered to be creditable coverage as an alternative to Medicare. So don't say, oh, I'm going to wait and go on Medicare later and start COBRA now because I'm used to my coverage and I don't know about this Medicare stuff. No, you'll screw yourself. So don't do that. Because COBRA is not considered creditable coverage. If you wait, you could be subject to late enrollment penalties. And if you do sign up for COBRA is always secondary to Medicare. And if you don't sign up for Medicare, COBRA still pays as though you have signed up for Medicare. So it's not a good situation. Don't do it. All right, the retiree medical insurance. What? I thought we lost this in bankruptcy. Well, what we lost was the fact that this insurance was pre-funded prior to the bankruptcy. Now, if you're between 55 and 65 at the time of your retirement and eligible for the 65-point plan, you can request to sign up for AA retiree medical insurance, and they will offer it to you. But the participant pays the full cost, and the price is uncapped. It actually doubled in 2015. It's very unstable and very pricey. Okay, so how much does it cost? Well, first, let's look at the insurance itself. It's actually not a bad deal. It's like our old retiree standard medical plan, $150 deductible, $1,000 out-of-pocket max. That sounds great.
I'm liking that.
I know, I love that. However, yikes, per person per month, $2,762 for 2020. I think that's for 2025. We need to adjust that. I think that's the updated one.
Wow.
Wow, yikes. So, I mean, that's who on a fixed income can afford that? Unless their fixed income is, married to a millionaire or something like that. Not me. Yikes. So now that our poor little fainting goat has fainted dead away at the sight of these costs, what are some other options? Well, you have the Affordable Care Act. You go to www.healthcare.gov. You could be eligible for tax credits again if your income is low enough to support that. There's a company called VIA Benefits. So if you're pre-Medicare age, pre-age 65, or you don't have Medicare as a result of a disability award, you call VIA Benefits and they can help you find Affordable Care Act plans. This company also contracts with AA to help people find Medicare plans. So if you're getting ready to retire, you're over the age of 65, and you're like, where do I start? Well, you can call VIA Benefits and see if they can help you out. I also have the names of a couple of other people that flight attendants have used in the past. And I've been told these people do a good job. So if you want those names, give me a shout by email or you can give me a call. Also, okay, so VIA benefits is in the list of contacts, that important information that's in the back of our retirement packet. So you can write it down, or you can get the retirement packet and we'll have a copy of their numbers.
All right.
All right.
Here.
Let's talk about Medicare. Seems intimidating because, you know, at AA, we have insurance and it's not broken into all these little pieces, but with Medicare, they like to make it complicated and break it into little pieces. So your employees and spouses over the age of 65, just so you know, if you're still working after the age of 65, you do not have to sign up for Medicare. Most people sign up for Medicare Part A, which is the part of Medicare that's free for most people. So they're like, what's the downside? I'll sign up for Medicare Part A. Part B and Part D are the ones that you could get penalized on if you don't sign up at age 65. But guess what? If you're working for AA or on a spouse's benefit that works for a different company that has creditable coverage, that means you don't have to, you can delay signing up for parts B and D until you retire. And when you retire, there's a form you can fill out that shows that you get the company to fill out, and it shows you had creditable coverage. And when you present this form to Medicare, they'll know you're not subject to any late enrollment penalties. So Part A is your hospitalization. Part B is your regular doctor's visits and labs. And Part D, D for drug, it's your prescription medication coverage. Those are the little parts of Medicare that in our old insurance, it's all wrapped into one. So yeah, avoid those late enrollment fees. There's a form and it's called the Medicare Employer Verification Form, and the number of the Medicare form, if you're looking for it online on medicare.gov, is CMS L564.
That just rolls off your tongue.
Oh yeah, I'm so used to saying it. And here's a copy of it. It's kind of similar to the family leave form, except way shorter and even less complicated. You just fill out the top portion and then you fax it into the company to the Benefits Service Center fax number. And then they will fill it out, and it takes them a while. They're really slow. So I always suggest to people, fax it in, and then maybe a day or two later, call the Benefits Service Center and say, have you received my form? And when can I expect to get it back from you? Because they're really slow and we need to make them learn how to do their job better. So you fax it in and they're going to snail mail it back to you because they don't like to send emails with your social security number on it in case something gets hacked. All right, so more about Medicare. In addition to Medicare A, B, and D that we already talked about, you need a Medigap policy or some sort of a Medicare supplement coverage because regular Medicare covers 20%. No, you pay 20%, it covers 80%, but there's no out-of-pocket max. So if something catastrophic happens, your 20% could get really big, you know. So what the Medigap policies do is give you an, max out-of-pocket spending limit. There are 10 different Medigap policies available. AA retirees have an 11th option. It's basically when several airlines went bankrupt, there was a trust set up called a Viva Trust, and it was created specifically for retired airline workers. So we have information about in our packet about who you would call to find out about that plan. Don't really know if it's any better or worse than the regular Medigap plans, but it's worth checking out. There are also another option would be Medicare Part C, which is Medicare Advantage plans. And those are the ones you hear advertised on TV all the time because it's Medicare privatized, kind of like an HMO, and it's administered by insurance companies and they make money from it. So they advertise it like crazy. A good thing is that they offer a lot of perks. But a bad thing is that maybe your monthly premiums are a lot lower or even nothing, but sometimes your out-of-pocket expenses can be a lot more expensive, especially for medications. So the best thing to do is consult a Medicare advisor who really understands the difference between all these plans and can help you figure out what's best for you. And then also another tip, when you're talking to a Medicare advisor, because of HIPAA, they cannot ask you if you have any health conditions. They can't ask you what doctors you go to. But if they know this information, if you're willing to share this information with them, they will be able to help you a lot better in finding a plan that's going to work for you. So tell them I'm on all these medications and these are the doctors I go to and I don't want to switch doctors. That's going to help them a lot in advising you.
That's one of the things we hear about Advantage plans, and they can be great. I mean, I was on an HMO for years until they stopped being in Texas, and I loved it. But you have to go to their doctors, and if you have a long-established relationship with your physician and they're not in the Advantage plan list, you can't go to them anymore. So that's one of the things we hear.
And there's a lot of useful information. There's a book called Medicare and You that you can download from www.medicare.gov. The employment verification form is available there. The application for Medicare Part B, all of these things you can find on the Medicare website. All right, so we've covered a lot of important questions. What do you need to retire? What do you get in retirement? What about income? Now is the time to discuss those other little details I talked about that maybe you haven't thought about yet. So what else do I need to research? Well, there's life events, optional insurance coverage, dental insurance. Where am I going to find that? Flexible spending accounts. So let's talk about life events. One thing to remember is that if you retire, your retirement date is the beginning of your spouse or your partner's life insurance, life event if you're going to go on their insurance. So normally you have about 30 to 60 days to file a life event, and your spouse can add you to their coverage. So you don't want to miss that life event if you're going to go on a spouse's insurance coverage after you retire. If you're married to another AA employee, you can do the same thing. You can go on their, retire and go on their insurance. But remember that when you switch to their plan, it's like you're starting a new plan. So all the deductibles and out-of-pocket maxes will reset. It's not going to carry over as though you're continuing your plan. So keep that in mind. Another reason to maybe start on their insurance on the first of the calendar year. So you can start fresh with new deductibles and so on.
So could I stay on COBRA for the rest of the year, this year, avoid the new deductible and the new out-of-pocket max, and then go to theirs?
Like if you didn't want to deal with December line, you know, you can retire, it's already past December 1st, but you can retire like on the 15th of December and do COBRA for 2 weeks and then start on your spouse's benefits or something like that. And the COBRA for 2 weeks wouldn't be that bad. It would be prorated, you know. So yes, you do have the option of using COBRA to fill in the gap. All right, optional insurance coverage. So optional insurance would include your MetLife legal, long-term care insurance, if you're lucky enough to have that, home and auto policies, pet insurance. All of these coverages can be continued after you retire. So you just need to contact the administrator of these plans, and we have all those numbers in our retirement guide, and then let them know you want to continue the policy, and they will start to direct bill you. They'll be happy to direct bill you for that coverage. Your employee life insurance and accident insurance will end when you retire. However, you do have the option to port or convert these coverages into a private policy within 30, I think it may be 60 days. I need to double check that, but we always err on the side of caution because we don't want anyone to miss an enrollment window. Okay, so the good thing about with the life insurance, if you need it, if you continue your company insurance, it does not require a physical exam to qualify. You would contact New York Life for the AD&D, involuntary personal accident insurance, and contact MetLife for the life insurance. It is expensive to continue the coverage, but you don't have to continue the full value of the coverage that you had when you were active. You could reduce it down to, you know, $20,000 worth of life insurance or something like that. So that is an option. Okay, if you have long-term and short-term disability coverage, this coverage will end because it's based on being disabled from your job. And when you retire, you're not going to have that job anymore. However, if you did have a life insurance, a long-term or short-term disability claim that's in the process, they're going to continue making those payments because you filed the claim prior to your retirement. So if you're eligible for benefits, those benefits will keep paying as long as you're disabled per the provisions of those plans. All right, dental insurance. It was really, really hard to find dental insurance. It's getting a little bit better. The company does offer dental insurance. It's zip code rated, and you're going to get an offer for it. Don't confuse it with the COBRA dental. It's not a very great product, so most people don't sign up for it. It's a high dollar, low benefit kind of a product. So I would kind of skip the retiree dental insurance because there are better options out there. The AA Credit Union, for example, offers services through Dental Club of America, and it is more like a discount network of physicians that if you sign up for that membership, they will give you reduced cost coverage. And also, I think Costco has something similar. And really, Medicare is getting better and better all the time with offering like dental riders. So we need to find out about some of those. I know there's one called Delta Dental, and a lot of dentist offices have supplemental plans you can purchase from them. So check with your dentist as well. Dental schools you can go to and get worked on, be a guinea pig, let a student practice on you, you know, that's an option as well. And there's qualified dentists watching the whole thing to make sure you're not going to be harmed in any way. At least not permanently, yeah. So, and like I said, the Medicare supplement plans are starting to offer better options. So when you sign up for Medicare, talk to your Medicare advisor or broker about if they have any options for dental coverage. All right, flexible spending. So normally in the calendar year, you know, every year we're working and we always hear from the company, if you don't use your flex spending money within a certain time, you're going to lose it. So every year now, the way it works is if you don't use it, I think it's like 500 or 550 will roll over to the next year and you lose everything else out the window. Goodbye. So you always want to use it by the end of the year. But in retirement, there's a way to kind of get your own back on the company. And if you retire, say in the first 6 months of the year, you put in the full allotment for the year into your FSA, and maybe you retire even sooner, you know, March or something, and you've made January and February deposits, you retire March 1st, you can use it all in January and February and then retire and you don't have to pay the rest of those deposits. So you can use it all and the company loses it when you retire. So keep that in mind. It's another thing that may or may not influence the timing of your retirement. All right, Patrick, what can you tell us about wrapping it all up and how people decide whether they really want to retire?
Well, I tell you, one of the things we hear is it's so complicated. And we'll admit, there are a lot of moving pieces to this. The good news is none of it is terribly complicated. There's just a lot of it. And I have confidence that that's absolutely nothing you can't handle. I mean, you go out there and you've got 256 annoyed people in the back of the airplane and you handle it with style and aplomb. You're going to be able to handle all of these moving pieces as well. How do you do that? Well, let's start with a list. The great place to start is on the good slide, page 37. There's a list that we have started, and it's an evolving thing. We put a new item in this week. So yeah,
and adding to it all the time.
And so now you've got your list, your retirement list. How do you follow a list? Does this feel like CQ? Mm-hmm. How do you do one task, a step at a time in order, just like the planned emergency checklist? Think of it as kind of a planned departure checklist. It will work wonders for simplifying your departure from American. Also, how many times have you retired? Never. So this is your first time. I mean, nobody expects you to know it all. Okay, so don't be afraid to ask questions. You can ask the company. Good luck with that. You can, there are a lot of professional advisors out there who, for a fee, will give you information. And probably your best source of option is right here.
right here.
Yeah, call APFA, email APFA at retirement@apfa.org. If we don't know the answer, there's a pretty good chance we know how to get the answer for you. And like I said before, you're attending this, you're planning, you're ready. And you know what? You are going to be prepared. You know what? You've got this. You're ready. Let's go. Good slide.
Good slide.
Questions?
You can do it. Let's see if there are more questions. We may have got them all, or there may be more that aren't coming in, unfortunately.
I was just checking your email.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in there.
No. Okay. We had
I
COBRA and
think we've done them all.
I think that, yep.
Is there anything we think we should talk about since we're not getting all the questions?
One of the questions has been the advantages to retiring at the beginning of the year versus the middle of the year. It's only one of the things, but it's amazing how much our costs for medical drive our medical decisions. So because no matter what policy you're on January 1st, you're going to have a new deductible and a new out-of-pocket max. That makes it a great time to switch plans because you're not going to have paid one and the other. If you leave on July 1st, you may have already paid your deductible at American and may or may not have hit your out-of-pocket max. But now when you go to a new plan, whether that be Medicare or your spouse's, you've got a reset, and now you have a new deductible and a new out-of-pocket max. So that's one of the things that drives our plan. The other thing to think about is that we say, oh, well, I'm going to retire, I'm going to start my pension, I'm going to start Social Security, but those are all separate steps. Think about it. We have people who retire at age 55 all the time. They don't start their pension, they don't start their Social Security. They do that somewhere down the road when it's reasonable for them. I know a lot of people who are waiting till age 70 to start their Social Security, but they don't want to wait that long to retire. You don't have to. That retiring and starting your Social Security or starting your pension are separate and discrete steps. What else we got?
Yeah, I had someone call me the other day, said I retired and why aren't they giving me my pension? And I'm like, you mean you didn't fill out the paperwork 90 days before? So we had to get,
my supervisor.
Yeah, your supervisor has nothing to do with your pension. I don't expect them to even know about it. They'll be like, what, you have a pension? They probably got hired, 6 months ago or something, but we're lucky if they've worked on the line, but that's the main thing I can think about. But don't be intimidated. You guys can do this, and the steps, you just break it into manageable steps. And like Patrick said, do it one step at a time and you'll be good to go. All right, well, I think
Thank you.
done. Happy holidays, and call or email if you need us. It's retirement@apfa.org. Thanks again.